Welcome to the Positive Communication Show with your host, Matthew Cooper, where crisis meets communication. Join Matthew on the journey of skills, techniques, and wisdom on empowering your communication and enriching your relationships. Matthew has been a student and practitioner of self-help skills and crisis communications for over 20 years. He owns Positive Control Systems, a crisis communication and intervention business, and teaches these skills to parents, teenagers, and professionals. Here is your host, Matthew Cooper.
That really enjoy me and can't get enough of me. Thank you very much for coming back. And those of you that are coming here for the first time, I appreciate you entrusting me with your evening, and I hope that you'll be able to find this evening as entertaining and hopefully, maybe, a wee bit enlightening. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'll give you a brief background. My name is Matthew Cooper. I am the owner of the Positive Control Systems, if you want to call it, program. I also have the Empowered Parent Program, another one. This also the Informed Crisis Care Program. Both the Empowered Parent Program is a program I've developed for parents. Also the Ninja Parenting Program for teaching parents how to better communicate with their children. And then with my crisis intervention business, I have the Informed Crisis Care and the Positive Control Systems programs. Now, the Positive Control Systems and the Informed Crisis Care, both of those programs, they are focusing on the troubled youth industry. They work very well, and I've been using them. The Informed Crisis Care was developed, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and the Positive Control Systems has been in use over 20 years in the youth industry, both in state programs as well as in the private programs around the state of Utah and around the U.S. Well, what's different about what I do is the communication that I add is extremely effective, very, very effective. The physical skills, yes, they're also extremely effective, and they are, from my understanding and from what I've seen, head and shoulders above anything else out in the industry. And yet what sets it apart is not just the physical skills. It's a combination of both the physical and the verbal skills, being able to use the verbal as a last resort and yet focusing so much on the verbal skills, making sure that you have the ability to communicate and communicate well. Not just I'm talking to you communicate, it's being able to connect with a person at a deeper level. This is the reason why I have developed the Empowered Parent and the Ninja Parenting programs. This is the reason why I initially wrote the book Ninja Dating Skills, What You Wish You Would Have Learned in High School. Being able to connect with a person, being able to have that face-to-face conversation makes all the difference in the world when you want to be able to communicate. And with the Empowered Parent and the Ninja Parenting Skills, which will soon be available to the public, I'm in the process of finalizing the development of both of those programs. It is interesting that these skills have never been available like this to the public. I've seen other communication programs for parents. Well, I won't call them communication. It's more, let's change your kids, and that'll make them better. And sometimes they'll throw a few things in for the parents to help them to change. My program is based on changing the parent, because the parent is supposed to be the example to their children. I'm a single dad with 5 kids. I know about being the example for my kids. My ex-wife left when my youngest was 4 years old. He just turned 11. And so it's been a few years, 7 years now, and it has taught me so much. It was the hardest and also the best experience I had in my life with her leaving. And it changed me. It changed the way that I communicate. It drove me to learn to be a better dad. I could choose not to be, of course. I could choose to be upset and to wallow in despair and misery, and I chose to step beyond that. I chose to move forward and treat it as a learning experience. And that catapulted me into being able to learn how to better connect with my children and build a relationship with each and every one of them. And all 5 of them are living with me right now. Even the oldest, who's 20, she's planning on moving out sometime this year. And the 17-year-old, soon to be 18, is also planning on leaving probably sometime in the summer after she graduates. So being able to have that kind of a connection with those kids, even though they are able to have their own personalities and express those and not always agree with me, we get along. And I let them talk. I listen. I make sure that I'm available, emotionally available for them, as well as physically available. So with that communication, I wanted to cover a couple of things this evening that I thought were very interesting. Some of which I find are extremely interesting to me. Ha ha! And the reason why it's very interesting to me is because one thing I want to cover is I want to cover something about dating. Okay. The reason why I want to cover dating is because that's something that I'm going through right now. It's been a challenge for me. So I wrote the book, Ninja Dating Skills. It's all these skills. I've looked at what's going on with these millennials, this new generation, if you want to call them, of young people that are in their 20s, maybe early 30s. And I'm scratching my head and saying, what the heck's going on here? Or even if they're even a little bit younger in their 20s and they're using technology so much, they don't even know how to hold a good conversation with somebody face to face. They have no real understanding and way of connecting with someone who doesn't use a phone or a smartphone. If you're using a flip phone and you have to text that way, oh man, you are old and you have outdated technology. You need to upgrade, as they would most likely mention. I don't feel that's necessary. What I do feel is necessary is being able to find people that are able to speak face to face. And as I mentioned earlier in talking about parents with their children, it's also the same with building friends and building, if you are going to have them, partners. You want to be able to have someone you can connect with. That connection is what makes all the difference in the world. There's a gentleman who I studied some courses with, and he was mentioning that he says, I can make a woman fall in love with me very easily. It's not magical. It's not mystical. It's not some incredible spiritual power that I have. It's actually psychology. And he went on to outline how you can cause a person to fall in love with you is to be able to create these connections. If you can have a connection with a woman or a man or whatever your choice is for your partner, when you have more connection with them, they're going to see you as being more like them. And who do they love most in the world? Voila, themselves. And so they're now going to begin to love you. Now, does that mean they're going to fall madly, deeply in love with you and simply be unable to stand it? No, they're going to like you and then they're going to love you. Why? Because they're going to recognize a part of you in them. And that part is connection. And that is, to me, if you want to be able to build a deep friendship, and honestly, friendship is love. In America, I found that way too often the word love is an emotional and a political landmine. It's going to go boom as soon as somebody gets close to it, pokes it with a stick. Oh, it's love. Get it off me. It's love. So many negatives and positives associated with love. Why can't we just have love? Well, love has too many strings attached to it. Love is difficult. Love is complicated. And yet love simply is. That's all it is. It's just love. Being able to accept that love simply is and not trying to judge it, not trying to put labels on it, just allowing it to be, is so much more healthy for all of us. When I was growing up, it was not cool to say, I love you, man, for a guy to say to another man because of the stigma of homosexuality. I have gay friends, and I did not back then. And these gay friends of mine, we can talk and we can have fun. They're great people. I do not find myself attracted to them. And yet I am still able to have a great relationship with them and a connection. There is love there. It doesn't have to be romantic love. It can be a fraternal love. It can be a parental love. Okay? It can be a platonic love. Love is okay. We can love people. That's where the connection comes in. when you're wanting to build this connection with someone else, a partner, a date, for example, well, what are you doing to create that connection? Are you creating a false connection which is based upon you faking and being someone different than who you are, or are you being someone genuine? Please listen. When I say what I recommend, I would really, really highly recommend you listen to this. Be yourself. Be the best version of yourself, and yet be yourself. Don't try and be someone for them. The last relationship I had, which was a rough relationship, I was trying to be somebody else for her. People have told me, don't do that. Yes, I know. I knew I shouldn't have done it, and yet I did, because I was trying to be that best, what I thought was the best version of me. What I was actually doing was I was changing who I was to be what she felt was the best version of me. Crucial difference there. In doing that, I realized that I was doing something that was not causing harmony within myself. I was actually creating disharmony within myself because I was trying so hard to be what she thought was the best. I'd heard someone say, you know what, don't be perfect, or don't expect the other person to be perfect. Instead, be the perfect person for them. And that's what I was attempting to do. I took that as I need to change myself to be the perfect person for her. And that she'll do the same for me. That is wrong. Please don't do that. What I've since learned is that instead of trying to be somebody else, be the best version of yourself instead. I've recently met a young lady. She is Russian. She came here 18 years ago from Russia. Yes. And I'm studying Russian, so that was really quite cool. I get to practice my Russian with her. And this lady, first off, I don't use the internet to do the dating websites very much. I'm quite upset with them for the most part. And so I decided to take my own advice and be the best person, best me possible. And so I did my best to create a profile with that. And wow, she contacted me first. We'll talk more about this right after the break.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Cooper with the Positive Communication Show on OTR.FM. Now, right before the break, I was talking about how you need to be the best version of you, correct? And in being that best version of you, you need to present yourself that way. And so I took my own advice and went on to Match.com and put up my information. I put down who I was, really, and this is me. This is a friend of mine looked at it and says, "Oh, yeah, that's actually really good. That's who you are." I'm like, good, okay, that's what I want. I want it to look like me. I want it to have pictures of me. I want to have the crafts and things that I do. I like to carve bones and into necklaces and such. I have a fish hook necklace I made for myself last year, braided linen thread into the cord for it and everything. So yeah, fun stuff. Working some leather work that I had done, put up there. See, I am crafty. I have crafts I like to do. This is me. I'm not trying to be someone else. I'm not trying to fit into somebody else's mold. I am simply being me, being genuine. And also other portions where I'm putting down who I am and what I like to do. These are things that I like to do. I'm not trying to put in there, oh, I love to go outside all the time. I am an outdoor. I'm not an outdoor fanatic. I don't like to watch football. Now, if I have someone to go outdoors and do something with, great. But going out there by myself, not nearly as fun for me. That's just what I am. I'm not going to go out and go camping by myself for a week. Okay, if I have someone to go camping with, take my kids up there, give me a reason to go, yeah, okay, I am more in favor of doing that. All right. So as I put myself out there as this is who I am and this is what I'm doing, I started to get a few replies. And matter of fact, a lady messaged me. She emailed me. And what I thought was very, very cute is what she wrote. And she wrote, "Will you date a Russian spy?" Ha! That was the beginning of a really fun conversation. Okay. And yet, is that how it's going to be for everyone? No. And yet, does this mean it's going to be a great relationship for me? No, it doesn't. We're having our second date this weekend. And yet being able to have that first one, that connection where she saw what she liked and reached out to me. She saw enough that she liked and reached out to me. I thought that was awesome. And we had a really fun conversation about that sense. I've learned about her. I'm learning more about her. She's actually written a couple of books, and she's a professional writer, which I thought was awesome because I also write, and I didn't let her know too much of what I write simply because I don't want it to sound like I'm bragging. Yes, I'm doing all these things. Let her have her perspective. Let her essentially have that limelight of look at me, look what I can do. Showcase what you can do. We prove. This is something that we will naturally do. We will prove or we will qualify ourselves for the other person if they're interested. If we're interested in them, oftentimes we try and show them. We qualify ourselves. Oh, yes, I do this, and this is why I'm also awesome, and you would really want to be with me because of this, this, and this. If they do it in a subtle way or in a way that shows they have value and yet not trying to force you to see that they have value, that's cool. I found that's very, very attractive and very beneficial. Now, I'm intrigued by this rather than put off by it. I had another lady I dated in the past, and she was trying to tell me why I should stick with her and date her because there were all these social benefits. Like, social benefits? I don't care about social benefits. I want to have a connection, a relationship with my partner, not be able to be invited to parties all the time. That's not me. And so that wasn't a connection. That was not something that really fit with me. Being able to have a person that you're interested in, finding out if they have some of these qualities, very important. I also noticed that a lot of times with these dating sites and such, especially with these millennials, this newest generation, dating is a very fast and furious project. Boom, get out there. Boom, date. Boom, see them. Oh, great, a couple of dates later, cool, sex, and now we can have an awesome relationship. Well, I'm all in favor of sex. Sex is great. Sex is to me, it is a side benefit of a relationship. It's a very important side benefit. It's simply, though, a side benefit. Your relationship should not be built around sex. If it is, from my experience, you're not going to have a very strong relationship. You need to have something a little bit more solid, like interests together. You don't have to have the same interests, but at least enough of a crossover that you're going to be able to have some connection you can keep with this person beyond just a few weeks or months where you're tired of them and you want to have a new partner. I'm at the point where I'm tired of having just a girlfriend. I would like to eventually, possibly, get married again. I swore at one time I would never do so. I even have a good friend, and when I tell him this, eventually, providing I find the young lady, he'll probably do what I told him and just to smack me in the face, which I said, if I ever think about it or I say anything about getting married again, I want you to smack me in the face. Because I was definitely against the idea. I had been married for, it was 15 years. And being married for 15 years and being divorced now, she left because she wanted to follow her dreams. That was devastating to me. Devastating. It was good. Doesn't change that it was devastating. Okay? And with that happening, it really caused me to be very down on the institution of marriage, especially since in the United States today, I think it's a 50% is the average, if you will, for people getting divorced, the divorce rate. And then even here in Utah, in some areas, it's even higher. The Salt Lake Valley, which is an area which I'm very close to, they have up to 60% divorce rate. That's kind of telling from my perspective. It's very telling on which groups, which relationships are being built and how they're being built. And if they're being very shallow and superficial, you're not going to have a deep connection. Also, I've noticed with the millennials and these younger people, I mean, Utah, this area of Utah, I understood, have always had at least a 5% above, and sometimes up to 10% above the national average for divorce rates. However, what I've found with these young people, though, is oftentimes they'll want to get into a relationship, and yet the commitment isn't there like it used to be. I mean, you don't see these days these people that have been married for 18, 20, 30 years. I don't see those kind of relationships happening the same way anymore. They're rare. Rather than being commonplace, my parents were married and are still married together. It's been over 40 years now for them. Other couples, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever years, they've been together. Wow, you're together 90 years. That's incredible. How old were you when you got married for? So understanding that if they're together, there's a reason for it. They've stuck with each other. They realize, okay, I can't stand my partner sometimes. I still love them, though. I'm committed to sticking with this because that's what we did back then. These days, that same mindset doesn't seem to be applied. It's not applicable. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just noticing there's definitely a different shift in the perspective for relationships. And if you want to have a relationship that works, what are you willing to do? Well, I learned, unfortunately, and fortunately, because I'm glad that I learned this, I learned that if you try and bend over backwards so hard to please the other person, when they get upset and they yell and scream at you and you don't fight back, you instead listen to their comments and say, you know, that's a good point. I could fix myself there. I could really change that. That just prevented, from my perspective, prevented an issue from being resolved. Instead, I thought I was resolving, I thought I was diffusing it, but instead what happened is I was prolonging the agony. The relationship wasn't getting better. I was working on fixing it. The other person wasn't. Why? Because I was willing to change who I was rather than being able to come to an agreement between us. I was the one giving up that part of me. And that just caused the relationship to spiral and eventually to crash. So if we're wanting to have that connection with someone and create that relationship, it has to be based on a mutual understanding, based on a mutual interest. If you're not having that mutual understanding and mutual interest, you are not going to be happy. You can't be happy. If you are, you're in la la land. I have a very good friend of mine. She and I have been friends for 6 or 7 years now. And she was around when I was going through my divorce, and she really was able to support me emotionally and be my friend through the whole process. I really, really enjoy her. She's a great, great friend. And she has a boyfriend now, and they're living together. And there's quite a big difference in their ages, which is fine. They seem to get along. However, he has a different perspective because he's from a different generation than she is. She's almost one of these millennials. He's not. She has quite a bit more education than he does. She's going into her doctor's degree. He doesn't even have a bachelor's degree. And so there's a number of things that are not working out. And she was having a lot of confrontation, a lot of issues, a lot of stress. She's being able to go through and saying, all right, is this me or is it him? Am I part of the problem? Which is what she should be doing. And I've also counseled her that if you have not gone through that part, you have to go through that for yourself. However, if it seems like you are doing everything you possibly can, and he is still unwilling to bend, then possibly you might need to recognize that this is not going to work. And yet that needs to be done after very careful deliberation, because this is not something you want to just throw away. They already have a great relationship. To keep that going takes work. It takes effort. And it's not just going to happen automatically. Are you willing to keep that commitment to follow through? Are you willing to keep on making the efforts, continual efforts, to make this relationship work and stick together, to work through those problems? If you're not, chances are it's not going to work. It can't work unless you're willing to. And even though I have had some great fun right now with this young lady I'm dating, I also know it's early in the relationship and I am being very picky. You should be picky. If you're not being picky with someone you're planning on or preparing to spend your life with someone, you need to rethink that. You have to be picky. We'll talk about that in a few minutes right after the break. Stick around.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness and action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Okay, making sure that you are being picky with who you're going to be spending your time with and who you're going to be in a relationship with. Now, why would I say go ahead and be picky? Why would I say that? Anyone? Okay, fine. I will answer this for you. The reason why you should be picky is because if we're going to use this term, saddling yourself or tying yourself to someone for the rest of your life, I personally have seen way too many times where people have been in these relationships that haven't worked, and they're literally bouncing from one to the other. That's not healthy, in my opinion. That is not healthy at all. If you're going to be in a relationship and you're going from one to the other, they call them, I think, serial monogamists. They can't be alone, or they have to be with one person and another. They can't just be alone for any specific period of time to heal and to grow in between, and you're going to just bounce to another person. You need to process that. Stop. Get out of that I have to date, I have to be with someone mindset, and just rethink where you're at. Relax and go over where you're at, what you're doing, and what you're looking for in a relationship. I personally don't want to be dating people for the rest of my life. I think that for me, this is just for me. This is, as I say, the gospel according to Matthew. I want to be able to have one person that I'll be able to eventually date and marry, and then I'm good. Does it mean I'm going to only take one person to date and then find that person to marry? No. It's taken me already quite a few. It might take me quite a few more. It might not. I might get lucky after a couple of them. Who knows? It might even be this Russian lady. I have no idea. All I do know is that what I'm looking for is based on me saying I am not happy with what I've gotten so far, and I'm now going to make a list of the things that I want in a relationship. Once I've found this list to be pretty inclusive based on what I've learned, I'm now going to compare future ladies against this list. Now, this list is not just superficial things like, oh, she has to have like long hair and be pretty, and those are all nice, of course, and believe it or not, yes, they are on the list. I do like long hair. However, it does not mean that that is what is going to be a deal breaker. No. Instead, I have other things, a little more deep, things that I cannot live with in a person. If they are an utter slob, I have issues with that. I do. Now, I'm not always the most clean person. I'm really working on de-junking my life and cleaning up and going through my different both bookshelves. I went through, 5 or 6 boxes in my closet, got all the top area of my shelves in my closet taken care of. Yes, I'm de-junking, cleaning up. I don't want to have someone who is going to be a perpetual pack rat. That's a deal breaker for me. What else is a deal breaker? Oh, okay. If my partner is going to be an alcoholic, that is a deal breaker for me. It is not part of my, I won't say belief system. That's not true with the belief system. I'm fine if someone wants to drink occasionally and have social drinks. I'm fine with that. Great. No problems. No worries. Excuse me here. I'm going to cough and mute my microphone. There, that works beautifully. Love to have that work rather than coughing in your ear. So a person being a very regular drinker has to have a number of drinks every night. I'm not into that. That is not my culture. If someone is, great. That's awesome. It fits for them. It doesn't fit for me. I'm picky now. I wasn't picky before. I am picky now. You don't like it? That's fine. You don't have to be with me. This one gentleman he mentioned that I studied with before, he said, be like sushi. What? Yeah, be like sushi. About 33 approximately percent of people like sushi. 33%, they can't stand sushi. And 33%, they can go either way. And the last 1%, they're just crazy, so don't worry about them. So with those people, those groups of people, be sushi. Don't try and please everyone. Instead, only please the people that you're wanting to please. The specific ones you're trying to attract to you, those are the ones you should worry about, not everyone else. And so I'm working now on being sushi. Okay? Raw. Yes, raw. Okay. Sushi. And in being that way, I'm going to be the best version of myself, yes. However, I'm also going to be very picky. And if I don't like something, then I don't have to have it because I can choose my sushi too. All right? So look for the sushi that fits for you, and you be the best sushi you can be. So with that perspective, I'm able to now be very careful in who I'm choosing for my partners rather than settling for less than the best. Settling for someone who's not going to appreciate me the way I want to be appreciated. So because of that, I think that all of us, if we're willing to try and make the efforts for it, we can all be happy. We can all find that person, that special someone in our lives. It doesn't mean they're going to come and jump out and say, hey, I'm here. It might take a little bit of work. It might take a lot of work. And we may have to be able to possibly in the future change some of our perspectives in saying what is truly important and what isn't. What will I be able to live with and what can't I live with? These are things that I'm personally going through or have gone through. And I'm now saying, okay, can I handle this? Can I live with this? And if I can, then this is a next step forward in the relationship. I also love to talk. You might have noticed I have my own radio show after all. And in having my own radio show, I love to talk to people, not just hearing myself talk. I love listening to them talk too. If they can't have a conversation with me, that is a deal breaker. Yes, it is. Because I want to hear them. I want to know what they think. I want to be able to have these kinds of conversations that people that have a deep connection can have. I want to talk about aliens. I want to talk about political, what do they call those? Conspiracy theories. Yes, I want to talk about those. I want to talk about unicorns and rainbows and lolcats. I want to talk about ancient history and fairy tales. I want to talk about all these things and more. I want to ask somebody, if you had a dream that you had $100 million in the bank, what would you do? What would give you the energy to be able to wake up in the morning if you knew you didn't have to go to work in the morning? What would you do? These are the things I want to talk about. The things that drive a person, the things that feed their soul. And if a person can't talk to me about those things, then honestly, frankly, my dear, I don't want to be with you. I don't care who it is. I also require this of my best friends too. We can talk about and have talked about these kinds of things. And we have arguments, fun, spirited ones, but they're not mean. They're not hateful. They're just fun. These are the things that I want and that are deal breakers for me if I can't have. So I recommend, please be very picky. Because when you're picky, you're also going to have a deeper connection with the person going to vet. You're going to go through and check, are they the person I'm looking for? And then you, as you go through and find one thing after the other, this fits, this fits, this fits. And if they are also doing the same with you, you're both going to fall in love. Because you're seeing parts in them reflected in you, and they're seeing parts of you reflected in them. That is going to build a deeper, stronger relationship. And hopefully it's beyond just the physical. I was told by some friends in the past that my picker's broken. My picker's broken. Yeah, my picker for picking girls. It's broken. Why? Because I, as this one friend of mine said, you're just going for those young, cute ones. Yeah, I was. Why? It's attractive to me. Very attractive to me. I also have found, this is just statistically speaking, nothing against those of you that may have hair of this color, okay? This is just what I've noticed statistically for myself. I don't have long-term relationships with girls with dark hair for some reason. Initially, when I was younger, I only dated blondes and redheads. And so part of what I'm doing, my friends have mentioned to me, you should stick with that then. Go for blondes and redheads. If you're not getting those, then don't date. I'm like, what? But there's so many good-looking ladies. There's so many beautiful women. Why limit myself? Well, I made a point. All right, try it out. See how it works. Guess what? This Russian woman, she has red hair. It is natural, too. She's a natural redhead from Russia. Yes, there are those out there, and they're oftentimes different ethnic groups. In this case, gypsy. Aha! Very cool. Russian gypsies. Is that interesting to me? Yes. Why? Because she has similar spiritual values to the way I believe, even though she grew up in Russia. Oh, really? Yes. Yes. And so I find it fascinating that I have another one of my lists checked off. We have those connections. We have these understandings. Now, I may not have been through all the same things that she has. However, she, as I mentioned, she's an author. I've read a couple of her books now, and I'm like, wait a second, this is actually pretty cool. She has gone through these situations, and I've had similar situations, and we're able to have this connection here, and this connection over here, and this connection over here. And am I convincing myself? I don't think so. I don't think so, because I still am being objective. That doesn't mean that I'm not finding more interest in her. No, I'm finding more interest. However, I am still choosing to be objective and say, I can still find her attractive and yet still not want to be with her and have a relationship with her. I recognize that. And yet if she has these certain things that she's doing that matches my list, I can now say, all right, I will continue to follow this relationship and see where it goes. Because honestly, I am too old to waste my time. Then again, I would say the same thing 30 years ago if I knew what I knew now. I would only be a teenager, but that's okay. I would still be too old for it. I think that life is too short to be spent chasing after foolishness and chasing after those things which will not bring you happiness. Find the connection with the world around you. Find the connection with those people that you want to have in your life. And if they do not bring you joy and happiness, then maybe you should look for somebody else. Maybe you should look for friends that will bring some of that happiness to you. One of the things that I thought was interesting was with a previous girlfriend, her friends were not my friends. I was able to be friendly and they loved me. However, I was not having that same friendship with them that they had with her. I want to be able to have a friendship with someone that's deep enough that we can share the friends and we don't have to have separation. Important. Stick around. Be back right after the break in just a few minutes.
You're listening to OTR FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
You're listening to OTR FM, part of the IOM radio network.
This is Matthew Cooper with the Positive Communication Show on OTR.FM. All right, so we just finished chatting a little bit about being picky, making sure you're being picky and choosing this person that you can have a connection with. Now, why would that be important? Well, like I mentioned earlier in the show, if I am now planning, I wasn't before, but now I am planning to have somebody that I can spend the rest of my life with, life is way too short to spend my life chasing after people that don't fit with what I like and that I want to be with. I cannot date, this is just me speaking, I know other people are doing this, more than one person at a time and get that quality time with them. Some people I know, hey, they can date 5, 10, 15 people. That's great. I guess I'm old-fashioned that way. I don't do that. I'll choose one. All right, does this work? Great. If not, all right, move on to the next one. I even signed up for a dating service here in the area that was a professional service. They would have people pay in a good sum of money and then be able to connect you with people over a certain period of time. I was not impressed at all. Not impressed at all with those that they were trying to hook me up with. I was actually very, very unimpressed and pretty upset with having spent any money at all on them. What I found worked best is when I focused on me. Now that may sound a bit egotistical, possibly, focusing on me. However, focusing on me, what happened? I didn't focus on me in a negative way. I focused on being the best person I could be. Focusing on being okay with being single. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but being able to be okay with being single, even though I'm looking for a date, look at it this way. How about being okay with being single? Because I am okay with staying that way until I find my partner. That changes it, doesn't it? That means I don't have to go out and date 15 people a month. I don't have to be out with someone every night to try and find that right person. And ladies, you have a little bit of an edge on us guys when it comes to dating on the internet. Why? Because usually, I'm not saying all the time, but usually you are flooded with guys trying to connect with you and contact you. Hey, baby, what's up? Most of them are sleazy little grease bags. However, you do find the occasional nice guy, let's say a polished rock, not quite a gemstone, but a polished rock among the rest of those nasty pieces of chalk. And with that being the case, you're also not going to be able, unless you look a little harder, to find some of these people, these nice guys that are out there. Sometimes you'll fall across them or stumble across them. Great. If you can stumble on them, great. That's awesome. But unfortunately, it makes it a little bit hard. So with that, being able to understand that when we're coming from that perspective that we're looking for this person that's going to complement us and be adding to our lives, we need to find out what is it that's going on with their lives and how can it match with ours. I'm going to be okay being by myself. If I do have someone with me, though, it's because I choose to be with them. They choose to be with me. It is not I'm desperate and have to have somebody, which I notice happens a lot on the internet dating. And so, ladies, where you're able to have so many guys to choose from, it makes it a little bit easier than the guys. And the guys, we have to be our best self. That's another reason why I mentioned being me, focusing on me. Because if I can be the best me possible, if I can be a happy, balanced, and attractive man, me, by myself, without having to have anyone with me, do you think that's going to be attractive to a woman? You better believe it is. Especially for the woman that wants to be with me and that I connect with. So now if she is the one that I want to be with and we get along and we connect, guess what? That's going to be the woman that I want to be with anyway, because she understands that with me, and she's going to also have been working on herself, improving herself, and being that person which now adds to our relationship. One thing that I noticed when I was younger and I'd just gotten divorced, and my first girlfriend I had after I've been divorced, it's been a couple years. And after being with her, we were together, I think, a couple years. After being with her for a while, she confided in me that especially toward the end, that she felt, let's see, look at the analogy that she gave me. She said that when she was younger, she had dated this guy, and she's smart. She's a really intelligent girl. And all that he liked to do, he worked for UPS. This is not saying anything against UPS drivers. He was just a UPS driver. That's the reference I'm giving. All that he would talk about, two things. That's it. Star Trek and the movie Friends. Not the Friends movie, excuse me, the TV show Friends. That was the extent of his conversations with her. That's it, period. She wanted to talk about 50 million different things, but all he would talk about is Star Trek or Friends. That's it, nothing else. I also know people who are UPS drivers, and they have a much, much larger pool of things to talk about and interest than that person. So she mentioned that it was really hard for her to want to talk to him because he was so narrow and had so few things to talk about. And the reason why she mentioned this is because when she was with me, I was the person like her, and she felt like that guy who had only a couple of things that he knew about. Because I was so knowledgeable in so many areas. I was so well read. I was so interested in the world, and having studied these things, she felt dumb and lesser than me. It doesn't mean that she was dumb or lesser. It just means that's how she felt. And so that's another reason why I'm being so picky, and how I think that you should also be very, very picky with the people that you're going to date and be with, because you don't want to be dating someone that feels like they are less than you. You want someone who can feel like they can be an equal. It doesn't have to be the same equal. It's just at a same level where you can learn from them, they can learn from you. It allows both of you to feel like you are an equal partner in the relationship. It doesn't always have to mean that you have the same level of education, because this friend of mine that's going in for her doctorate, and her boyfriend, who is, I think, 20 years older than she is, he doesn't even have an associate's degree to my knowledge. And yet he's knowledgeable in his own areas, and he's an international businessman. He has his own areas, which now places him in an area where both of them have their expertise. They are both professionals in different areas, and they can now be quote-unquote equals. Not in the same areas, because then you can have conflicts and fighting because I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. Oh, you don't want that. You don't want to have two people, if you're within a partnership with someone, to now be having to argue over who's better or who's stronger or smarter, whatever. That leads to other issues, and that to me would say that you already had an issue with your relationship before that happened. So instead, look for someone that you want to be with that can be an equal with you. Taking an idea from the Christian philosophies and theology is that woman was created from man's rib, not from his head to be above him, nor from his feet to be beneath him, but from his rib to stand beside him, to be equal, to be a helpmeet, to be someone who will be able to assist you and be there with you, man and woman, woman and man. If you are attracted to the same gender, then your partner, male, male, female, female, does not matter. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. It's all who your partner is. I am not homosexual. I have friends that are, and I am happy for them, honestly. I have one friend over in northeastern Utah. I bought him a book recently, A Man's Search for Meaning. Okay? It was Victor Mendel, I believe. Great, great book. Heartrending. Mr. Mendel's issue, if you want to call it an issue. Actually, I want to double check on his name just to make sure that is his name. Victor Mendel, I believe it was. That's the beauty of a internet here. Mendle. For A Man's Search for Meaning. Oh, not Mendel. Sorry, Frankl. Viktor Frankl. That's his name. And before I even pushed search, I remembered. Yes, it's Viktor Frankl. So my apologies. Okay, Viktor Frankl. Now, this gentleman, Viktor Frankl, the challenge was that he was in a Nazi concentration camp. Well, this gay friend of mine, He had never read the book, hadn't even heard about it. And he is a bit of a shaman, you might say. His belief system's very strongly that way. We've had great conversations and chats about it. He has some of the most gorgeous scenery that he posts on Facebook. Love it. And when I talked to him about that, he asked if I could send him the book and write something on the inside and that he would pay me for it. I said, no, I will buy it for you. I will put something inside and I will pay for it because I want you to have something like this. This is so important. You will love this. He cherishes it. He loves that. He is so excited about getting a book like this from a friend. Okay? I am fine. He has a boyfriend. They are happy. I am so happy for him because I knew him when he had another boyfriend before, and he was so lonely in having that partner when that young man and he broke up. It doesn't matter who it is you're with. Let them be that partner, that person who can be by your side, that you're going to be able to have as a life partner. Okay? There are those out there that have polyamorous relationships. Great. Fine. If that is what brings you happiness and you're going to be in a triad or what they call these polycules, however you're going to do it, great. To just make sure that you're doing this so that you can be happy. And if that brings you happiness, excellent. When you have a relationship and you have built it strong and you have made those connections, you are now going to be able to find those people that can make you happy. However, you have to be happy. As Mahatma Gandhi said, we must become the change we want to see in the world. If we're not being that change, how can we expect anybody else to be? So be the change, my friends. I will catch you next time.